For 10 years, I paid every bill for our beautiful family lake house. But when my sister decided to have her wedding there and texted that I wasn't invited, I replied with a single word. A week later, her dream wedding venue had a for sale sign staked in the front lawn. I should probably start from the beginning. My name is Emma, and I'm 34 years old. For the past 12 years, I've lived in London, working as an architect for one of the city's most respected firms. It's a job I love, designing buildings that will stand for generations. The pay is excellent, and I could afford a much nicer apartment than the modest two-bedroom flat I rent in Zone 3. But for the last decade, most of my extra money has gone somewhere else entirely. The lake house sits on the shores of Lake Minnetonka in Minnesota, about 40 minutes from where I grew up. It's a stunning property with 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a wraparound porch that faces the water. The sunsets from that porch are magical. The house has cedar siding that's weathered to a perfect silver gray, and there's a private dock where you can tie up a boat or just sit with your feet in the water. Inside, the original hardwood floors creak in all the right places, and the stone fireplace in the living room is big enough to warm the whole first floor. My family had been obsessed with this house since I was a teenager. We used to drive by it every summer when we rented a cabin nearby for our annual vacation week. My dad would slow the car down, and we'd all stare at it like it was a movie star's mansion. My mom would sigh and say things like, "Can you imagine waking up there every morning?" My younger sister Chloe would claim the room she wanted, even though we'd never been inside. It became this shared fantasy, this symbol of the life we wished we had. Then, 10 years ago, the impossible happened. The house went up for sale. The elderly couple who owned it was moving to Florida to be closer to their grandchildren. The asking price was reasonable for lakefront property, though still far more than my parents could afford. My dad works at a hardware store, and my mom is a part-time receptionist at a dental office. They've always been careful with money because they've never had much of it. Their credit wasn't great either, thanks to some medical bills from when Chloe had appendicitis a few years earlier. I was 24 then, 2 years into my job in London. I was doing well, making good money, and had been smart about building my credit. When my mom called me crying about the house, saying how it was their dream, but the bank had rejected their mortgage application, something in me shifted. I wanted to be the hero. I wanted to give them this gift. I could buy it, I heard myself saying on that international call. My mom gasped. My dad got on the other line. Within minutes, we had a plan. I would buy the house in my name since I had the credit and income to qualify for the mortgage. It would be the family house, though. They would use it, maintain it, enjoy it. I was just helping them achieve their dream. Looking back, I can see how naive I was. We never put anything in writing. There was no rental agreement, no contract about responsibilities. It was all based on trust. And this idea that family helps family, my parents were so grateful, so emotional. Chloe, who was 19 at the time, actually sent me a card saying I was the best sister in the world. That card is probably still in a box somewhere in my London flat. The purchase went through quickly. I flew back for the closing, signed all the papers, and held the keys in my hand for about 5 minutes before my mom grabbed them, tears streaming down her face. We all went to see the house together that first day as owners. It was even more beautiful inside than we'd imagined. The kitchen had been updated with granite countertops. The master bathroom had a clawfoot tub. Every room had a view of either the lake or the woods. I stayed for 3 days, helped them move some furniture in, and then flew back to London. My life was there, after all. My job, my friends, the tiny but growing circle of professional contacts that would build my career. I figured I'd visit the lake house whenever I came home, maybe for Christmas or summer holidays. The first year, everything seemed fine. My parents sent photos constantly. They were at the house every weekend from May through October. They hosted 4th of July parties and Labor Day barbecues. Chloe brought her college friends up for spring break. In every photo, they looked so happy, so proud. I felt good about what I'd done. The mortgage payment was $2,400 a month. Property taxes added another $800 monthly when divided across the year. Insurance was $200. So every month, $3,400 left my UK bank account and went straight to Minnesota. At first, it didn't feel like much of a burden. I was getting raises, taking on bigger projects. I figured it was temporary, that eventually my parents would be able to take over the payments or we'd work out some arrangement. But that conversation never happened. Whenever I tried to bring it up, my mom would get emotional. She'd talk about how grateful they were, how the house had brought the family so much joy, how they could never thank me enough. Then she'd change the subject. My dad would just say things like, "We're taking good care of it for you, Emma," as if I was the one using it. Year 2 brought the first major repair. The septic system failed. If you've never dealt with a septic system, consider yourself lucky. When it fails, it's not just inconvenient, it's a health hazard. The repair cost $15,000. My parents called me in a panic. They didn't have that kind of money. Of course they didn't, so I paid for it, draining most of my savings. "We'll pay you back," my dad promised. We both knew he wouldn't. Year 3, the roof started leaking. Minnesota winters are brutal on roofs, and this one had been patched too many times. A full replacement was $20,000. I had to take out a personal loan to cover it. The interest on that loan meant I was now paying almost $4,000 a month for a house I'd visited exactly twice in 3 years. Meanwhile, my life in London was expensive too. I was working 60-hour weeks, bringing work home on weekends, pushing myself to earn more to cover all these costs. I lived in a flat that was nice enough, but nothing special. My coworkers assumed I was just naturally frugal when I declined expensive dinners or weekend trips to Paris. They had no idea that my money was flowing across the Atlantic to maintain a lake house I never saw. Social media made it worse. Chloe was constantly posting photos from the house. "Perfect summer day at our lake house," she'd write with pictures of her and her friends on the dock. "Thanksgiving at the lake," with shots of the whole extended family gathered around the dining room table I'd never eaten at. She had tens of thousands of followers on Instagram, and the lake house was basically her personal backdrop. She'd become something of an influencer, partnering with clothing brands and lifestyle companies. Many of her sponsored posts were shot at the house, my house, though nobody ever mentioned that detail. My parents weren't on social media much, but when they were, it was the same thing. My mom's Facebook profile picture was her standing on the dock. My dad posted fishing photos with captions about life at the lake. Their friends would comment things like, "You're so lucky," and "living the dream." And my parents would just smile and agree, never mentioning their daughter in London who made it all possible. Year 4, the water heater died. Year 5, the deck needed replacing after carpenter ants got into the wood. Year 6, the furnace gave out in the middle of winter. Each time, it was thousands of dollars. Each time, my parents acted like it was a crisis only I could solve. And each time I solved it, because what else was I going to do? Let the house fall apart? Let the bank foreclose? I started to feel like an ATM machine. Our family calls became less about catching up on life and more about house updates. The dishwasher is making a funny noise. The basement might have a small leak. The association is raising the road maintenance fee. Every conversation was about money I needed to spend on a house I didn't use. Chloe, meanwhile, had graduated from college and moved back to Minneapolis. She was working as a marketing coordinator for a startup, making decent money for someone her age. She spent every weekend at the lake house, often bringing her boyfriend, Marcus. They'd been dating for 2 years, and from what I could tell from social media, he practically lived at the house during the summer. I kept telling myself this was temporary, that things would change, that eventually we'd have a real conversation about the arrangement. But years kept passing, and nothing changed except the amount of money I was hemorrhaging. By year 7, I'd paid over $280,000 in mortgage payments, taxes, and insurance, plus another $70,000 in repairs and maintenance. That's $350,000 for a house I'd spent maybe 10 days in total. I could have bought my own place in London for that money. Instead, I was still renting, still living carefully, still watching my family live their best life on my dime. The resentment crept in slowly. At first, I pushed it down, told myself I was being selfish. This was family. This was what you did for family. But the feeling grew stronger every time I wrote a check, every time I saw another Instagram post, every time my mom called to tell me about a great weekend she'd had at the house, without asking how I was doing. Year 8 was when Chloe got engaged. She announced it on Instagram with a photo session at the lake house, of course. The ring sparkled in the sunset light on the dock. Said yes to my best friend at my favorite place in the world. She captioned it. The post got 50,000 likes. Brands started reaching out to her about wedding partnerships. She was planning to document the whole wedding journey for her followers. I found out about the engagement from Instagram, by the way, not from a phone call or even a text. I was sitting in my London office at 9 p.m. eating takeout while reviewing building plans when I saw the post. I commented, "Congratulations," like one of her random followers, because that's basically what I'd become. The wedding planning consumed the family for the next year. Every call home was about venues, dresses, flowers, and caterers. The lake house came up constantly as the perfect spot for various events. The engagement party was held there, the bridal shower too. I watched it all unfold through social media, a spectator to my own family's life. Year 9 passed much the same way. More repairs, more payments, more Instagram posts of other people enjoying the house I paid for. I was 32 now, successful in my career, but feeling stuck in my personal life. Dating was hard when you couldn't afford to do much. Taking vacations was impossible when all your money went to Minnesota. I was living for a future that never seemed to arrive. A day when the house situation would resolve itself, and I could start my own life. Then came year 10. This was supposed to be different. I'd been promoted to senior architect, leading a team on a major project. After it wrapped up, I was due for a month-long sabbatical. It was a benefit the firm offered to senior staff, and I'd earned it through years of dedicated work. I decided to spend that month in Minnesota. Not the whole month at the lake house, but a good portion of it. I wanted to reconnect with my family, to actually enjoy this house I'd been paying for. I wanted to sit on that dock, watch those sunsets, wake up to the sound of water lapping at the shore. I'd earned it, hadn't I? I was so excited when I texted the family group chat. "Great news! I'm coming home for a month this summer. Can't wait to spend time at the lake house and see everyone." The response came 15 minutes later. Not from my parents, but from Chloe. And it wasn't what I expected. FYI, the lake house is actually booked that whole month. It's for my wedding prep. It's just for the wedding party and our real family, so it's probably best you find a hotel or something. I stared at my phone screen, reading the message over and over. Real family. She'd actually written real family, as if I was some distant relative instead of the sister who'd been funding her Instagram paradise for a decade. The wedding was at the lake house. Of course it was. Where else would Chloe have her picture-perfect, social media-ready wedding? But she hadn't asked me. She hadn't even told me. She'd just assumed she could use the house, my house, and that I would accept being excluded from it. I typed out a dozen different responses, angry ones, hurt ones, confused ones. I wrote paragraphs about the money, the sacrifices, the years of supporting them, but I deleted them all. In the end, I sent one word: acknowledged. Then I closed the group chat and sat back in my chair. My office was quiet. It was late in London, and the building was mostly empty. I could hear the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic on the street below. I sat there for a long time, feeling something shift inside me. The hurt was there, sharp and familiar. But underneath it was something else: clarity. For 10 years, I'd been telling myself a story about family, about sacrifice, about love. But Chloe's text had revealed the truth. I wasn't family to them, not really. I was a resource, a convenient, long-distance bank account that funded their lifestyle while asking for nothing in return. Real family. The words echoed in my mind. Real family was who got to attend the wedding at the house I paid for. Real family was who got to make memories there. Real family was everyone but me. I opened my laptop and pulled up my files. The deed to the house was in a folder marked Important Documents. I'd scanned it years ago just to have a digital copy. There was my name, and only my name, as the legal owner. I'd forgotten how simple it looked, how clear. This wasn't a family house. It had never been a family house. It was my house that I'd allowed my family to use while I paid every bill and fixed every problem from 4,000 miles away. I studied my finances next. The mortgage had 8 years left on it. At the current rate, I'd pay another $230,000 before it was paid off, plus taxes, insurance, and the inevitable repairs an aging house would need. Another $350,000 at least. For what? So Chloe could keep posting Instagram stories. So my parents could maintain their weekend retreat. So I could remain the forgotten ATM in London. Number. The decision wasn't emotional. It was logical, clear, and surprisingly easy. I was done. Not angry done or temporarily done, but completely, thoroughly, permanently done. I researched real estate agents in the Minneapolis area. I wanted the best, someone who could move a property quickly and efficiently. I found Helen Martinez, who specialized in luxury lake properties and had stellar reviews. I sent her an email at 2 a.m. London time. Ms. Martinez, I own a property on Lake Minnetonka that I need to sell as soon as possible. The house is in excellent condition and should attract strong interest. I am the sole owner and have all necessary documentation. Please let me know your earliest availability to discuss listing the property. Time is of the essence. She responded within hours, despite the time difference. We scheduled a video call for the next day. I sent her the deed, the mortgage information, and 10 years of payment records. I also sent photos of the house from Chloe's Instagram, which provided better marketing material than anything I had. This is a beautiful property, Helen said during our call. With the right pricing, we could have it sold within weeks. The lake house market is very hot right now. Price it to sell quickly, I told her. I want this done fast. May I ask why the urgency? Personal reasons. How soon can you get a sign up? I can have it listed online today and a sign on the property within 48 hours. But I should mention, if there are current occupants, they'll need notice. There are no tenants, I said. No lease agreements. No one lives there full time. My family uses it occasionally, but I'm the sole legal owner and I've decided to sell. Helen was professional enough not to pry further. We agreed on a listing price that was competitive but not insulting to the property's value. She said she already had several clients who might be interested in a quick cash purchase. One more thing, I said. When you put the sign up, make sure it's visible from the road. I want it to be very clear that the house is for sale. Of course, that's standard practice. Perfect. After the call, I felt lighter than I had in years. I went about my work week normally. I didn't mention anything to my family. The group chat stayed quiet after my acknowledged response. They probably thought I was sulking and would get over it. They had no idea what was coming. Helen worked fast. The listing went live on Tuesday. She had 3 showings scheduled by Thursday. The sign went up Friday morning. Friday evening, my phone exploded. It started with my mom calling repeatedly. I was in a meeting and couldn't answer. Then came the texts. Emma, what is happening? There's a for sale sign at the house. Call me now. This has to be a mistake. My dad started calling too. Then Chloe. The group chat filled with messages in all caps, demands for explanations, accusations of insanity. I didn't respond to any of it. Finally, late Friday night London time, I answered my mom's 20th call. What have you done? She was screaming, actually screaming. I held the phone away from my ear. I'm selling my house, I said calmly. Your house? It's our family house. You can't sell it. Actually, I can. I'm the sole owner. Check the deed. But Chloe's wedding is in 3 weeks. Then she has 3 weeks to find a new venue. I heard Chloe crying in the background. Not delicate tears, but huge, gulping sobs. She's ruining my life, she wailed. Emma, you need to stop this right now. My dad's voice came on. He was trying to sound authoritative, like when we were kids. Take down the listing. We'll discuss this as a family. We're not a family, I said. Chloe made that clear. I'm not real family, remember? Real family gets invited to the wedding. I'm just the person who pays the bills. She didn't mean it like that, my mom said, back on the phone. You know how Chloe is with her words. Her words were very clear. And so are my actions. I'm selling the house. We'll sue you, Chloe screamed in the background. You can't do this. We'll get a lawyer. Go ahead, I said. Have them contact my attorney. I'll send you the information. I didn't have an attorney yet, but I figured I should probably get one. After I hung up, I contacted a property lawyer in Minneapolis, explained the situation, and retained his services. It cost me $2,000, but it was worth it for the peace of mind. The family lawyer called on Monday. His name was Mr. Peterson, and he tried to sound intimidating. He talked about verbal contracts, about promises made, about the family's investment in the property through maintenance and care. My lawyer shut him down quickly with the documents I'd provided. 10 years of payments from my account, every repair bill paid by me, property tax, insurance, all in my name, all from my funds. No rent collected, no lease agreement, no written or even provable verbal agreement about ownership. Your clients have no legal claim to this property, my lawyer told him. They've been essentially guests of Ms. Emma's generosity for 10 years. That generosity has now ended. Mr. Peterson tried to argue about the wedding, about the deposits paid, about the emotional distress. My lawyer pointed out that no one had asked my permission to use my property for a wedding, and any deposits paid were their responsibility. The house sold in 10 days, cash offer, quick close. The buyers were a young couple from Chicago who fell in love with it immediately. They offered $5,000 under asking, which I accepted immediately. Helen said I could have gotten more if I waited, but I didn't want to wait. I wanted it done. The new owners were happy to close in 2 weeks, which meant the house would officially change hands 1 week before Chloe's planned wedding date. The meltdown from Minnesota was nuclear. My phone rang constantly. Text messages poured in, not just from my immediate family, but from aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. Everyone had an opinion about what I was doing. Everyone thought I was wrong, cruel, heartless, vindictive. She's having a breakdown, my mom told people. London has made her cold. She's jealous of Chloe's happiness, was another theory. She's punishing us for not visiting her more, some cousins suggested. None of them understood. This wasn't about punishment or jealousy or breakdowns. This was about respect, about boundaries, about finally understanding that family isn't about blood or obligation, but about mutual care and consideration. For 10 years, I'd given everything and received nothing. Not even an invitation to a wedding at the house I'd paid for. Chloe tried calling me directly, without our parents. I actually answered that one. "Please," she said. And for once she wasn't performing, she sounded genuinely desperate. "Please don't do this. My whole wedding is planned for the lake house. All the decorations, the setup, everything is designed for that space. The invitations have already gone out with that address. It'll be humiliating to change it now." "You humiliated me," I said quietly, "when you told me I wasn't real family, when you excluded me from a wedding at a house I've paid for while you posted photos from it for years, building your brand on my dime." I said, "I'm sorry, okay? You can come to the wedding. You can be in the wedding party. You can be my maid of honor. I don't want to be in your wedding, Chloe. That's not what this is about." "Then what? What do you want?" "We'll start paying rent. We'll help with the bills." "It's too late for that. The house is sold. The new owners close next week." She started crying again. "You're ruining my life. My wedding is destroyed. Marcus's family already thinks I'm trashy, and now I have to tell them we lost our venue. Do you know how this looks?" "It looks like the truth," I said. "That you were using a house you didn't own for a wedding you didn't invite the owner to. Maybe it's time you started being honest with Marcus's family and with your Instagram followers about whose house that really was." "I hate you," she said. "I actually hate you. You're not my sister anymore. According to you, I haven't been real family for a while now." "I'm just making it official." I hung up and blocked her number. Then I blocked my parents' numbers too. The only way they could reach me now was through email, which felt appropriate. Business communications for what had always been a business relationship. The closing happened on schedule. Helen sent me the documents to sign electronically. The money hit my account the next day. After paying off the remaining mortgage and all the fees, I had about $300,000 left. It wasn't a fortune, but it was freedom. I used $250,000 as a down payment on a flat in London. Not a fancy one, but mine. 2 bedrooms in a nice area with big windows and original Victorian details. The kitchen needed updating and the bathroom was dated, but I could fix those things slowly, on my own timeline, with my own money, because it was my home, really mine, not pretend mine or family mine or technically mine. Mine. The first night in my new flat, I sat on the floor of the empty living room with a bottle of wine and my laptop. I had one email from my mom. The subject line was, "How could you?" I didn't open it. Instead, I opened Instagram for the first time in weeks. Chloe had posted a statement about her wedding. She made it sound like there had been a terrible family tragedy, without specifying what. She said the wedding would be relocated to a hotel ballroom downtown. The comments were full of sympathy and support. Someone had started a GoFundMe for her wedding expenses that had already raised $10,000. I laughed. Not bitterly, but genuinely. She'd found a way to spin this into content, into engagement, into actual profit. She was going to be fine. They were all going to be fine. They just have to be fine without me funding it. I unfollowed her, then unfollowed my parents' sparse accounts too. I didn't need to watch their lives anymore. I had my own life to live. The wedding happened, I assume. I don't know any details. Some mutual acquaintances tried to fill me in, but I told them I wasn't interested. That chapter was closed. The house was gone, sold to people who would actually live in it, actually love it, actually appreciate it. The family that had used me as their personal bank was now just a group of people I used to know. 6 months have passed since I sold the lake house. I've furnished my flat now, painted the walls colors I chose, hung art I picked out. I cook dinner in my kitchen and drink coffee on my tiny balcony and sleep in a bed I bought with money I didn't send to Minnesota. My coworkers have noticed I seem happier, more relaxed. I've started accepting those invitations to dinner, taking those weekend trips. I went to Paris last month just because I could. Sometimes I think about the lake house, not with regret, but with a kind of distant curiosity. I wonder if the new owners sit on that dock, if they watch those sunsets, if they appreciate what they have. I hope they do. I hope they make real memories there, not Instagram content. I got one last email from my dad a month ago. The subject line was Olive Branch. I actually opened that one. He wrote about forgiveness, about moving forward, about how families should stick together. He never once acknowledged the decade of financial burden I'd carried. He never apologized for taking advantage of me. He ended by saying they were willing to forgive me for selling the house if I was willing to apologize for the way I'd done it. I deleted the email without responding. There was nothing to say. They wanted me to apologize for standing up for myself, for choosing my own life over their comfort. They wanted me to go back to being the silent benefactor, the forgotten sister, the long-distance ATM. But that person didn't exist anymore. She'd been left behind in that one-word text, acknowledged. I've been thinking about this whole experience lately, trying to understand what the lesson is. I don't think it's as simple as family will take advantage of you or don't be generous. I think it's more complex than that. I think it's about the difference between helping and enabling, between generosity and exploitation, between love and manipulation. For 10 years, I thought I was helping my family achieve their dream, but I was really just enabling them to live beyond their means at my expense. I thought I was being generous, but generosity implies choice, and after a while, I didn't feel like I had a choice. The expectation was so strong, the guilt so heavy that paying for that house felt mandatory. And that's not generosity, that's manipulation. Real love, real family involves respect. It involves recognition. It involves reciprocity, even if not financial. My family never offered any of that. They took my money and gave me nothing in return, not even the basic courtesy of an invitation to a wedding at the house I'd bought. They showed me exactly how much they valued me, and it was less than nothing. It was negative value. I was someone to be excluded, hidden, used. Some people have said I went too far, that I should have tried to work it out, that selling the house was too extreme. But I disagree. Sometimes you need to take dramatic action to break a toxic pattern. Sometimes you need to burn the bridge completely to stop yourself from crossing back over it. Sometimes you need to sell the house to finally come home to yourself. The flat in London isn't as beautiful as the lake house. It doesn't have a dock or a sunset view or rooms full of family memories, but it has something more valuable. It has truth. When I walk through my door, I'm not maintaining someone else's fantasy. I'm living my own reality. The walls I painted, the mortgage I pay, the space I inhabit, they're all mine. In a way, the lake house never was, even though my name was on the deed. I think about what Chloe said, about me not being real family. She was right, in a way she didn't intend. Real family doesn't exist automatically through blood or law or tradition. Real family is created through actions, through choices, through daily decisions to care for and respect each other. By that definition, we hadn't been real family for a long time. Maybe we never were. There's a freedom in admitting that, in stopping the pretense, in selling the house that represented a relationship that never truly existed. I lost a beautiful property on a lake, but I gained something more valuable: my self-respect, my autonomy, my own life. People ask if I have any regrets. The honest answer is yes, but not the ones they expect. I don't regret selling the house. I don't regret cutting contact. I don't regret missing Chloe's wedding. I regret the 10 years I spent believing in a family that didn't believe in me. I regret the money, sure, but more than that, I regret the emotional energy I poured into people who saw me as nothing more than a resource to be exploited. But even that regret is fading, because those 10 years taught me something valuable. They taught me about boundaries, about self-worth, about the difference between being kind and being a doormat. They taught me that you can't buy love or belonging, no matter how many mortgage payments you make. And they taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to stop enabling dysfunction. The lake house is gone from my life now, sold to strangers who are making it their own. My family is gone too, by their choice as much as mine. The group chat is deleted, the financial drain is plugged, the emotional vampire has been staked, and in place of all that loss is something I didn't expect: peace. I sleep better now. I breathe easier. I laugh more. I've started dating someone, a fellow architect who thinks it's amazing that I own my own flat at 34 in London. He doesn't know the whole story yet, just that I had some family property drama. Maybe someday I'll tell him about the decade I spent paying for a house I couldn't use, about the sister who excluded me from her wedding, about the parents who never said thank you. Or maybe I won't. Maybe that story belongs to the past, to the person I used to be before I learned to value myself. The other day, a coworker was complaining about her family, about how they always expect her to pay for things because she lives abroad and must be rich. I listened, nodding, understanding. Then she asked if I had any advice. Set boundaries early, I told her. Be generous if you want to be, but make sure it's your choice, not their expectation. And never, ever put your name on something you don't intend to control. She laughed, thinking I was joking, but I was deadly serious, because that's the ultimate lesson from this whole saga. Your name has power, your signature has meaning. When you put your name on something, whether it's a deed or a text or a promise, you need to own it completely. And when someone shows you that they don't respect your name, your signature, your ownership, you need to be willing to exercise your power. I exercised mine by selling the lake house. It wasn't cruel or vindictive or emotional. It was simply the logical conclusion of a decade-long revelation. They didn't respect my ownership, so I made it impossible to ignore. They didn't value my contribution, so I withdrew it. They said I wasn't real family, so I made that statement true in every legal and financial sense. Some people will never understand that decision. They'll always see me as the villain who sold the family house, who ruined Chloe's wedding, who chose money over blood. Let them think that. They didn't pay $350,000 for a house they couldn't use. They didn't sacrifice their financial future for people who couldn't even say thank you. They didn't get told they weren't real family by someone whose entire lifestyle they'd funded. I know the truth. I know what I did and why I did it. I know that selling that house wasn't about revenge, but about self-respect. It wasn't about hurting them, but about healing myself. It wasn't about ending a family, but about acknowledging that the family had already ended, if it ever existed at all. The lake house is someone else's dream now, someone who actually lives there, who watches those sunsets from the dock they paid for, who makes memories in rooms they own. And that's how it should be. Houses should be homes, not Instagram backdrops. Families should be supportive, not exploitative. And generosity should be appreciated, not expected. My flat in London is small and needs work. The kitchen is dated, the bathroom needs new tiles, and the living room could use better lighting. But it's mine. Every creak in the floor, every mark on the wall, every penny of the mortgage is mine. No one else has a claim on it. No one else posts photos from it. No one else assumes they can use it without asking. It's my space, my sanctuary, my actual home. That's worth more than a lake house I never got to enjoy. It's worth more than a family that never valued me. It's worth more than being real family to people who only saw me as a wallet with a pulse. They said, I destroyed the family over a house. I say, I just stopped paying for a fantasy. I stopped funding their lifestyle while living like a pauper myself. I stopped pretending we were something we weren't. I stopped being the silent, invisible, forgotten sister who paid all the bills from across an ocean. What would you have done if you'd paid for a house for 10 years, sacrificed your own dreams and comfort, only to be told you weren't welcome at a wedding being held there? What would you have done? Would you have accepted it, swallowed the hurt, kept paying? Would you have fought for an invitation, begged for inclusion, tried to earn your place in a family that should have been yours by birthright? Or would you have done what I did? Would you have sold the house, cut the ties, chosen yourself? I know what I did. I chose myself. After 10 years of choosing them, funding them, enabling them, I finally chose myself. And despite what they think, despite what they tell people, despite the story they've crafted to make themselves the victims, I know I made the right choice. The lake house is gone, the family's gone, but I'm still here in my own flat, living my own life, free from the burden of their expectations and my own misplaced guilt. And that's not a tragedy. That's a triumph. So that's my story. That's how I went from paying for a family lake house to being banned from it, to selling it in the span of a week. That's how I learned the difference between real family and blood relatives. That's how I discovered that sometimes the best thing you can do is let go, even when it means letting go of everything. The lake house taught me a lot of lessons over those 10 years, but the most important one came at the end. In that moment when I put up the for sale sign, it taught me that you can't buy belonging, you can't purchase love, you can't mortgage your way into a family that doesn't want you. All you can do is recognize the truth when it's shown to you and have the courage to act on it. I acted, I sold the house, I blocked the numbers, I bought my flat, I moved on. And every day that passes, I'm more certain it was the right choice. Because now, when I come home, I'm actually coming home. Not to someone else's dream, or someone else's backdrop, or someone else's expectation, but to my own space, my own life, my own future. That's worth more than any lake house. That's worth more than any Instagram perfect wedding. That's worth more than being real family to people who never really saw me at all. They said I destroyed the family over a house. But the truth is, there was no family to destroy. Just a financial arrangement dressed up as love. A decade-long exploitation disguised as gratitude. And a house that was never really a home. At least not for me. Now I have a home. Small, imperfect, but mine. And that's enough. More than enough. It's everything. What would you have done? Let me know in the comments below.